Can you race it? We'll see about that. Hello and welcome to Good Boys Gone Bland, Season 9, Episode 2, Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. I'm your co-host, Denali.
I'm your co-host, Ryan.
I am co-host, Jace.
Podcast Morphers Go! Form of
30 download episode.
We get more than 30. Folks. God, this is interesting because we haven't discussed Metazords in a while.
Oh. Yeah, and so can I be very clear?
Yeah.
When I was watching this movie for the first time, because we should also make it clear we each watched this movie twice. When I was watching this movie for the first time, I exclaimed at the television because, like the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood meme, because I didn't realize that this is where we were getting Zords from, like the Megazord.
What'd you think the word Zord was coming from when we were talking about Metazord? Is this like the Ben 10 lore that we had kept throwing back to that you didn't pick up on?
Yeah, I thought it was the Ben... Wait, what's the Ben 10 thing that we...
We were talking about the Omnitrix. We've made multiple Ben 10 references throughout the show. And then you had a realization last season that we had been talking about the show.
Right.
But anyways, what'd you think Zord was?
I knew it was I thought it was like a Gundam thing or something.
Okay,
okay.
That's fair.
Yeah, robot. I knew it was a giant robot thing, but I didn't know it was Power Rangers.
But yeah, I mean, this episode is unique. And we should explain. Metazord is what we explained a couple seasons ago where we combine as humans into one big meat monster. Perhaps that's something we do as a podcast. You decide at home. But this is a unique episode because we're reviewing once again a beloved franchise. I don't really know what the target audience is here for this episode, but just in case, kids at home, turn off your podcast machines, all right? Tell your parents you're watching an explicit show because this episode isn't for kids. It's got cussing. If you were a child in 1997, you'd probably be like 30 now, so that's probably okay, but I don't know how into 1997 movies 5-year-olds are nowadays.
I think it would depend on how into 1995-year-old movies adults are. It's like Michael is, I think watching original Digimon. I think with his with River.
Oh, that's tight.
I think he's subjecting him to all the anime that he likes just so
he will never connect with other kids his age. When
Yeah.
he goes. No, that's great.
What the fuck is Blue's Clues?
We mentioned we watched this movie twice because we had a delay in recording this episode. So each of us is very, very fresh and knowledgeable of the Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. But I wanted to run by you guys. How familiar are you with Power Rangers? Did you guys grow up watching it? Or did you know about it? What was your guys' experience?
I mean, I grew up watching it, but it was between probably the ages of 3 and 6 where I don't have any good memories, concrete memories. So I knew I was into Power Rangers. I probably was a Power Ranger for Halloween multiple times.
That's tight.
It's just, I don't remember anything except my teenage years seeing clips on the internet or something or meme reactions and stuff.
Yeah. Jace, did you watch Power Rangers?
Yeah, I wore out the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers VHS. Let's be real. That
Nice.
might have been one of those movies that I watched 3 times a day.
Hell yeah. Do you remember when you could do that as a child because your brain wasn't developed? And you could just restart a movie and it would be like watching a new movie over and over.
That's how it felt like this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was a huge Power Rangers head. Jace, I also watched the Mighty Morphin movie. I would get up early on Saturday to watch Fox Kids. I watched the Mighty Morphins. I watched the Turbo Rangers, the Zeo Rangers. I watched all the way until Dino Thunder when I was probably a little too old to watch it. I think I was 11 at that point, and my dad kind of had a talk with me. He was like, "Hey, buddy, you should watch different shows."
What? I mean,
and I think it was legitimate concern for my social life as a middle schooler.
It's a show about beating the shit out of bad guys.
It is. It is about beating the shit. And this is my next question: is the Power Rangers fascist? Are they? There's not a lot of negotiating before they pull out the Zords and the weapons.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Oh,
I don't remember much politics being played here.
There's a ton of politics and lore in the Power Rangers verse.
They did kind of frown upon a non-traditional marriage.
Wait, okay.
You know,
they took many lives to stop that marriage.
That's the whole plot of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys have a favorite iteration of the Power Rangers? Or do you
Probably the one I
remember
watched
enough?
was Mighty Morphin. I didn't know, like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the delineations. I only knew about Mighty Morphin. So, like, when you said Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, I didn't really remember the Turbo Rangers.
Right.
I sort of remember Zeo, whatever that is. But so my question is, what's the order that the Power Rangers series went in?
Mighty
So-
Morphin, then this.
It's Zeo before Turbo. But then there was Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers before Zeo, which was like just a one-off thing. But I do have a Power Rangers quiz for you guys that might help answer this question in a sec. Do we want to just do that quiz now, or I can save
please.
I do have a comment. So I was wondering this morning if we were doing another Evangelion thing for two reasons. One, I watched this movie and I was like, why did we watch another movie that is at the end of a season? But it's not. This movie is the opener for
the
Turbo,
Genesis.
which is fucking stupid, which we'll talk about later. It doesn't make any sense. But
You're
also,
starting a new series. You have a movie to kick it off.
I love that. That's great. You know, just I'll save my complaints for later. But two, this movie gets a lot of action on the internet still.
Really?
There are probably like 15 Reddit threads about this movie in the last year and a half,
Wow.
which is more than,
Yeah, way more.
I would expect. I think the Power Ranger fandom is,
Weird.
if they have spinning heel kicks like in this movie, we need to be careful.
This is the most equipped cast we have ever encountered to whoop our asses. All right? Each of these cast
I don't
members
know. Remember that
are
Ben Affleck
trained.
movie with the bow staff?
Yeah,
Ben
but
Affleck could whoop our ass, but now we have 10 people who can whoop our ass now at any point. You guys, we can get into the quiz that I prepared to kind of help with their Power Ranger discussion, because we're talking about what we know about the Power Rangers. This quiz is relatively short, okay? I didn't put a ton of time into this, but I wanted to kind of see really where you guys are at with this franchise that is still going to this day. I did watch one episode of the most recent season of Power Rangers, and rest assured, it is just as fucking ridiculous as it was 30 years ago.
You mean for research purposes?
No, this was like a couple months ago. I just thought it'd be funny.
I have another question.
I gave you an out, man, and you whiffed it.
Jace.
Does Japan still do like their own Power
Super
Rangers?
Sentai? I believe Super Sentai is still active. I don't know. I mean, I know Saban had bought the rights to this whole show, so I don't know if it's still in production. Oh, it looks like I'm seeing 2022 was the most recent Super Sentai.
Whoa! But they
Don't quote me on that,
delineated
folks.
from the Power Rangers. Are they same in that one Power Rangers where they all morph, they all teleport in. Was Super Sentai in there?
Fucking sick. No. So Super Sentai is like the same Rangers, except they just dub it with American voices.
Oh.
And in this series, you could probably tell, too, the cutaways into the Japanese show where the tone is drastically different all of a sudden. They did this throughout the series. All right, and I do not recommend buzzing in before all the questions are read. This is going to be almost impossible to guess unless you're a super hard Power Ranger stan. Question 1, what was the theme for the original Power Rangers series? As in, what were the Zords? This is just like a baseline to get you guys. What was the theme of the original Power Ranger series?
Are there going to be multiple choices?
You said
A?
don't buzz until we.
Yeah.
I know, I forgot to say the answers. A, mythical beasts. B, souped up cars. C, dinosaurs. Or D, spaceships.
Buzz.
Ryan?
I think it's A. I think it's the mythical animals, because that's what I remember.
Okay, Jace?
D. Spaceships.
You are both incorrect.
What?
The original Power Rangers series was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where they were all dinosaurs.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I thought you were saying there was one before that, like a minute ago.
There was one before Turbo, which was Zeo.
Which was
And then Mighty Morphin started off. Okay, we're starting at the bottom rung. That's okay,
Okay,
guys.
They
That's
were
okay.
dinosaurs in the
They were
original?
dinosaurs.
Yeah. I was
fucking badass.
I thought
that
there
was the
one
Dino
before
Thunder.
the dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Because I remember
they,
dinosaurs, and I was like, oh shit, am I just remembering Dino
revived-
Thunder?
They revived dinos a couple times. It was badass. Question 2. Okay, I'll let you guys recover here. This is going to be like but there's no multiple choice. Whoever gets the closest is going to win this one. How many seasons of Power Rangers are there currently?
Buzz,
Ryan?
32.
What
Jace?
the fuck? Buzz 9?
like- Ryan, you are closer. There are 30 seasons of the Power Rangers.
Wait. Does each one have a different theme, or is it like Mighty
Yeah.
Morphin had 2 What?
Oh, sorry. I think there's the iterations. I actually couldn't find the number, or the seasons. I couldn't find the number. There's 30 iterations. Each iteration might have 3 or 4 seasons within them.
Is that including the Japanese Super Sentai though, or just?
No. This is just the American Power Rangers. Each one a different iteration.
They change like every year.
That's kind of wild.
It is absolutely nuts. Which brings me to the next question. We got 1 Ryan, Jace 0. Still plenty of time to catch up. Question 3. Which of these is not a Power Rangers season? A. Power Rangers Samurai. B. Power Rangers Dimension Lightning. C. Power Rangers Space Patrol Delta. Or D. Power Rangers Cosmic Fury.
Buzz.
Oh, okay.
B.
Jace, Dimension Lightning. Ryan,
I want the last one. D.
Cosmic Fury.
Yeah.
Jace, you were correct.
Oh.
Power Rangers Dimension
That sounds
Lightning
cool.
was my
Dimension Lightning
thank
sounds
you.
cool.
Saban hit me up. I think it's fucking sick. Cosmic Fury is actually a really recent season of theirs. I think it was like 2019.
Oh, Jace, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Those ones have cool ass outfits.
Yeah, honestly, all the costumes fucking sick all the way through. Question 4. Which of these is not a real Power Rangers villain name? A. Barbarax. B. Hydro Hog. C. The Psycho Rangers. D. Valtrex. E. Miratrex.
Buzz. D. Did you say is Valtrex? Is that a boner pill?
I'll take the water hog.
Hydro Hog. Jace, you were correct. Valtrex is a herpes simplex drug.
Oh.
It's very popular. Jace, you're in the lead. You pulled ahead. Hydro Hog is an actual Power Rangers villain.
Jesus
Question
Christ.
5. We're almost at the end here. Ryan, there's plenty of time for you to catch up. I'm not going to wait any of these because you guys are pretty close. Question 5. Which Power Rangers iteration is Denali's favorite? A. Wild Force. B. Turbo. C. Dino Thunder. Or D. Ninja Storm.
Buzz,
Ryan.
I gotta go with Dino Thunder because you like all this weird animal stuff.
Jace?
I'm gonna go with A.
Wild Force?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jace. It is Wild Force.
God,
Ryan,
what's
he's
Wild
talked
Force?
about that before.
Which one is that?
I've mentioned Wild Force multiple times on the
Mentioned
show.
Wild
Which
Force
one is
multiple
that?
times.
Season 10, it's where they're all beasts. It also has my favorite episode, Forever Red, where all the Red Rangers from all the seasons show up to whoop some ass. It's fucking sick. It's on YouTube. Look it up. All right.
Is that why I know that? Is that why I know about that episode? Because of you?
And they also redo the Green Ranger saga with the Wolf Ranger. It's fucking sick. I'm going to wait this last one. All right. This is going to be, 5 points? I'll do 5 points, okay?
Yeah, you get 3 questions right in a row, and then all of a sudden the last question's worth 5.
How's it feel? How's it feel?
Okay. Jace, you're doing great. Question 6. It can all be undone. Which of these were not actual Zords, okay, throughout Power Rangers?
Ooh.
A. The SWAT Megazord. B. The Time Force Megazord Q-Rex Rider. C. Drive Max Ultrazord Rescue Formation. D. Wild Rev Beast Zord Wild Rev Beast Zord Speed Glider. It's hard to read these.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's just the 4.
Buzz, I want the SWAT one. I don't think kids should be like revving up about SWAT teams.
I'm gonna go with the glider.
Speed Glider. Jace, you are correct.
God damn!
That was my own creation, Ryan. Unfortunately, there was a SWAT.
There's a
iteration of the
SWAT
Rangers.
season? There's a pro police season?
So Power Rangers SPD is when they are space police and they get upgraded to SWAT police. Yeah, Jace, you win by a pretty healthy margin for the Power Rangers, which I think is fitting for you wearing out that VHS of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Congratulations.
Ryan, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to beat your ass like that.
Hey, you know what? You can have this one.
Do you guys have like a dream Ranger team? Like if you guys were a Power Ranger, like what iteration would you want to be, or like make up one? You know, like what theme would you want your Rangers?
We're all boulders.
Boulder Rangers. So you guys are all
yeah.
rocks. You have a Quartz Ranger,
Oh, yeah.
like a
Like
Sapphire
an
Ranger.
I think
obsidian.
you're like, that would actually be a cool
Fuck,
theme.
let me look this
Fuck.
up.
Ruby
I think it's already
Ranger?
taken. I think it's taken.
Sapphire Ranger, Emerald Ranger.
That is badass.
I think you're almost describing like Steven Universe in a way,
yeah.
but I mean, we can make it
Dude,
Power
this
Ranger
is actually not bad.
Yeah.
I was imagining just like round rocks,
Yeah.
but when you think about gemstones,
And all their villains are geologists.
yeah,
They can fight them.
Ranger.
yeah, white is diamond.
I like chef rangers. My Zord would be like an omelet or something. And there's like another one who's like a steak Zord, and they all combine into like a dinner Zord or something, or like maybe there's like different salad ingredients. And they become a
Like
salad
a poke
Zord.
bowl.
Yeah, poke bowl. Raw fish Zord. What would you guys do with Power Ranger powers if you guys were gifted morphers?
I have a question. Can't the powers be like retroactively taken by the floating head, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah, Zordon has rules. Like he does say that you can't like use your Power Ranger powers to escalate things. So like that's why the Power Rangers don't just use the Megazord to just fucking stomp on the villain before he gets big. Like they have to wait until he gets big and then use the
What?
Megazord. It's the rules. It's I
Why
didn't
is
make
that a
them.
rule?
There
Is
are
he
rules of
bad?
engagement.
Also, you cannot use the Power Ranger powers to like for personal gain. All right, like they're basically. I don't want to say. I mean, it's like martial arts. It's like the martial arts code, right? Self-defense only. They're defenders of the planet.
I like this because if you're a villain, you could abuse these rules and do
Right.
whatever the hell you want. And they're like, well, he's not big. We only fight big guys. And the president is like, dude, what the hell? You can stop this. No, we only fight if they're like Godzilla size.
No.
They can fight small guys, but they're only allowed to
Yeah.
fight as small guys.
They
They're like,
fight the same size.
I can't turn into a Zord and crush him. He's tiny right now.
I can't fucking do that. It also, they have a lot of criticism of the Power Rangers over the years, and they've toned it down. Because in the early days, they would whoop ass like on a fucking dime. Like someone's robbing a bank or something, they would immediately morph and start beating them to death. And like they had to kind of be like, okay, they have to do this. Because parents were like, they don't even try to just make the villain stop using their words. They show up, it's ass whooping time.
That's what I was expecting. And
Yeah.
to start talking about this movie, that's what I was most disappointed by.
Yeah.
Was that 99% of this movie was just Power Rangers walking around, just being humans. You know, maybe today we'll go to Costco and not even buy anything and just eat the hot dogs because it's a pretty, frugal meal.
Yeah,
like, just
right. I mean,
normal people stuff.
we got to talk. Do you guys just want to talk? We got to talk about this movie. I think
Yeah,
I think we're
bust
bursting
into
at
it.
the seams because like we cannot even avoid this convo. We usually do a lot more bullshit in the beginning. I think I'll start with explaining what our season is and what our podcast is. We're a high concept podcast where we marathon and review 10 movies of a similar actor or subject. This season was another hashtag Ryan's pick, and We're in the Garage. A car season, baby. We reviewed Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. This episode was unfortunately my pick. And I picked the Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, a car-themed Power Rangers movie, all right? Like, who would think that there would be not so much cars? But who knows? I'm not going to spoil it. I guess I'll do like a quick synopsis. We've been talking a lot about Power Rangers. As I said, this is coming off of Power Rangers Zeo. The cast has gone through multiple changes. Leading the Rangers right now is Tommy of Green Ranger fame. He was once the evil Ranger who got converted to good. He turned into the White Ranger in the Mighty Morphin's Power Rangers movie. And now he's leading the Turbo Rangers now that he's not brainwashed. He's my favorite Ranger, I think. But basically, God, so you have the lore. Divatox, a alien pirate, is trying to capture a mystical being named Larigo who has a key. Okay, this is a lot of lore they're throwing at you in the first 5 minutes. They even have a lore crawl in the beginning, like Star Wars.
Yeah.
She's trying to get the key to awaken this evil monster. Do you guys remember the monster's name? I forgot the name of the monster.
Marky
Malagor.
Mark something.
Malagor, thank you, Jace. To awaken Malagor, Divatox wants to marry Malagor and combine their powers to destroy the Power Rangers once and for all and rule the world. But the Power Rangers are going to stop it. They enlist some new Zords, turning them into the Turbo Rangers. I think that's all I'm going to say because anything more is going to turn into a review of the movie.
Good job.
Yeah.
The absolute unembarrassment and just
Okay.
a brashness of this movie
Yeah.
to within the first 5 minutes rip off Star Wars, Wizard of Oz, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then every movie ever that's used like a 4 foot tall practical effects
Yeah.
kind of little Ewok man was just wild.
I have a question. So on second viewing, me and Julie were like, doesn't the Larago situation remind you of another movie? And it was very clear we were both talking about the same movie, but we could not place it. It's like another E.T. ripoff.
Was it Mac and Me?
We thought about Mac and Me, but no, that's because we know about that from like the Paul Rudd Conan thing.
Right.
We were thinking like there's some movie that obviously rips off E.T. where like they find this monster in the woods and then they take it home and then it like causes trouble in their day-to-day lives. And it sounds exactly like E.T. when you say it like that. But like at the end, I remember him like levitating stuff, just like Larago.
It's like a ye old child takes monster home movie.
Yes.
I think that's like a trope in like the 90s and the 80s,
Right.
I think. And to talk about the Star Wars crawl in the beginning, I think it's really daring to lay down so much lore in a movie made for, I think, 5-year-olds. Like, and I like how also as the title crawl is going, me and Amber are like, oh my god, we have to read this. Holy shit!
Yeah.
And it starts talking like as like they're reading the thing because kids are too stupid to read this thing with huge words. They're talking about like a fucking space war and like a magic key, and it's fucking insane. They couldn't afford a montage clearly, so they just wanted to save money and just like physically say it at you on the camera. I'll be honest, I didn't hear a word they said. I was so distracted by this.
Well, also, like, they could have just had Divatox be like, man, I want to catch this little Larago, guys, so I can open the portal.
Exactly. One line. And I like how that long title crawl does not even explain what the Power Rangers are. Like,
No.
at the end, they're like, and by the way, there's Power Rangers, fucking Teens with Attitude. They're going to solve it. I was like, what? So if you don't know what the Power Rangers are, you're going to be like, what the fuck is happening?
Let me throw some lore words at the listeners and names. You've covered a few of them, but we hit with Larago, Divatox, Malagor, Island of Maranthius, the Nemesis Triangle.
It's a lot. And I kind of admire the audacity to do this because they did not have to do this. If you asked me as a 5-year-old what I want to watch in a movie, I don't want to be like, oh, there's world building, like a well-crafted like plot that I can just like follow the arcs of the characters. I want to see like people in costumes whooping ass. And guess what percentage of the movie it was?
We got the exact opposite. This was essentially like, I thought maybe like Martin Scorsese like directed this because there's like flashes of violence throughout this movie, but there's most of it is just talking.
Yeah, how much bullshit was in this movie? They're on a pirate ship. Oh, they're in a karate tournament.
Okay. This is now
the
the next necessary conversation.
Yeah.
This is allegedly it was selected, and
Yes.
it bills itself as a car movie.
It's on the cover, like the cars.
And it's called Turbo.
Yeah.
And the Power Rangers get their turbo powers, which is essentially they get driver's licenses. And I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on the tier ranking of these abilities.
Oh.
And Jace has his hand up. But like, am I missing something? Is it more than just like their power is they now have cars?
I wouldn't know. They don't
So-
really cover it.
Yeah, this, because they had to follow Super Sentai, right? They have to explain, because in Japan, this series, they change costumes every season, right? So in the American version, I think they had to make up a reason of why this shit's happening. But they don't really get into the lore of like why the cars are really there aside from, oh, we 3D printed these really quick. I guess you're stuck with them now. Fuck those dinosaur swords you just had. Jace, what was your question you were having about?
I didn't have a question, I had a comment.
Yeah.
It's a little off track, somewhat on topic. One bus, one spaceship submarine, one motorcycle, another boat,
Yeah.
5 jet skis, one more boat, and then finally cars. Denali, no cars.
I was starving for cars in
Yeah.
this movie. It would have been easy just to include a scene where people are driving just to somewhere.
And you know what's so funny is that the current events that are happening in the world right now are this missing submarine hunt. And there's opening shots of fucking submarine. It's a goddamn submarine movie.
Very on topic.
There was way more submarine screen time than there was a car in this movie. In the beginning, where you have Larago just fucking around in the jungle, me and Amber were like, is this a car movie? And he's like, they're shooting arrows or riding horses.
Yeah, I was like, is this the right one? Did I get the? Because there's another Power Rangers movie called RPM.
There is.
Motherfucker.
But that could be about electronic music for all we know.
It's not.
Like every Power Rangers show I've found, like Amber and I have watched the intros to multiple Power Rangers shows. They always start in a gym with them doing karate. Like
Okay.
that is like the formula. They
Okay.
start out and they're all wearing their colors. They're doing oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and they're like hitting the bags.
I have a question about who the
Yeah.
fuck these Power Rangers are. And what does being a Power Ranger mean? Because the guy, the plot of this movie is that the Blue Ranger is practicing a little too intensely for his karate match, and
It was
he
hilarious.
falls like 2 feet onto the ground out of the boxing ring and gets paralyzed. So, like, wait, these are the defenders of the universe, and he can't survive a 2-foot fall? He can't reorient himself, but he's supposed to be doing flips off of stuff?
Yeah, that scene was also fucking wild. Because they were like, oh, we can't seem to train hard enough. He's like, watch this, guys. And he kicks so hard that he flies over the ropes and falls straight down on the back of his head. And the music stops. And there's all this drama. It's like, dun dun. All these kids walk up and he's like, I can't move. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, what is this? And me and Amber at this point, we're in like a fugue state. I can't even figure out what's happening in this movie because it took such a mood turn. And he's like in a hospital bed now. And they're like, hey, Bobby, are you okay? He's wearing like a neck brace. And he's like, I can't do the karate tournament. The children are going to lose the shelter. I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, I was also appalled by the fact that the Power Rangers don't have enough pull to get this children's shelter built. Like, they have no real world power. Like, all these children are going to become homeless if they don't win this karate tournament. Like, okay, there's a couple things wrong with this world, first off. First off, the fate of these children rely on a karate tournament in any event. This is like worse than Nacho Libre. And that one actually made sense.
It's like the reflection of our capitalist world.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I think
really dystopian.
was it that whoever wins the money, you win the money, then you could save the shelter, or was it whoever wins the tournament gets to save whatever
Their children's
shelter they want? And everyone has their own shelters they
Yeah,
want to
and
save.
so that's what I was thinking. Like, this is actually a really sad story because the other 15 teams competing in the tournament just lost whatever charity money they needed.
Right. This is like the orphan grinding machine.
Yeah.
meme, where it's like heartwarming. Folks raise enough money to stop the orphan grinding machine for 1 hour. And
Yeah.
there's the question of like, why is there an orphan grinding machine?
Right.
One press conference after the Power Rangers whoop some ass. And they're like, hey, this is Red Ranger here. Maybe don't close down that kid shelter. I'll whoop your ass. All right, see ya. And like, I think that would have saved.
Zordon is like, no, you're not allowed to whoop asses. Capitalism isn't space evil. You only have space license to kill.
Right. The implication is that they can turn into giant Zords to commit acts of violence, but they can't turn into giant Zords to save children's lives.
Maybe they
Power
crush
Rangers
some
are
orphanages. They accidentally crush some orphanages when they turn into the big mighty morphin.
What if Divatox
Oh my
was
God.
like, I want to control the universe because it's really morally bankrupt and there's children out there who are homeless and unfed and I want to change everything. And the Power Rangers like, we got to morph and stop her.
Yeah, what if the Power Rangers stepped on the orphanage at one point and that's why they have to rebuild it? And like Divatox, she has the most accepting group of people, I think, in her submarine. They all look like freaks. Like they're all like animatronic aliens. And like she doesn't care what they look like.
Yeah.
The morphers, they're all like one robot, some interdimensional fascist in a tube, and the rest of them are just the teens. And they're always the whooping ass of the aliens.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
the aliens don't really say a motive. They're just kind of like, I want to defeat the Power Rangers.
They're like, stay out of my planet.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
the implication there?
And Ryan, you mentioned the whole plot of this movie is just trying to stop a marriage from happening.
Right.
And these teens are recruited into this fascist space world.
Brainwashed anyone?
Zordon's like, hey, I'm 10,000 years old. You 15-year-olds need to suit up. I'm gonna fucking have you kill these guys. And don't you dare use it for any other reason or I'll take it away.
Why is this evil space monster trapped in a volcano on Earth? It doesn't make any sense, man.
He really didn't do anything besides leave the volcano. Like, he didn't...
Yeah, that's true. Malagor didn't do anything wrong.
I wanted to say about, like, we talked about the animatronics in this movie. This seems like almost high performance art. If you saw something like this made today, like, this is incredible to see. It's almost like this absurdist thing, like Rygog, the costume where he's this cloister shell with a spike sticking out of him, and the way that they're acting. It's almost like it's high art.
It's pretty
really
cool.
strange.
I was really
Yeah.
surprised at the quality of the costumes for Divatox's like henchmen and the turtles as well. Can we talk about how rad those turtle enemies are
Wait, the turtle
on the pirate ship?
The weird
like the
goo creatures.
Stegosaurus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen those before outside of this movie.
They 100% reused, I think, everything on this show. Even the Starship Troopers, like costumes they use for that movie have been integrated into like Power Rangers as well. They kind of borrow everything.
So this
from
was the FX for this were done by Steve Johnson's XFX company, who is like the partial filmography on the Wikipedia page for the guy that started that. You know, it's like crazy. It's
is it full?
every
Examples?
he did Pet Sematary too.
Oh shit!
Oh shit, our homie.
I
Yeah.
liked the effects in Pet Sematary 2 a lot. That's great. And even like the costuming department for this movie, Jace, you mentioned like another department, but like they were the people who made like the costumes for Critters. Like they actually have like a lot of classic movies under their belts too. And
Wait,
I
why
do
did we
think-
watch Pet Sematary 2? Was it a dog movie?
It was.
Oh fuck, it was.
Or was it a horror movie?
It was a dog
Every
movie.
once in a while, yeah, I think about. I'm like, why the fuck did we watch that? And I
Zowie.
think, yeah, I'm gonna have that
Oh.
with this later. We're kind of watching this movie, and this is about 20 minutes in. There's still no cars.
Yeah, I have
Larago-
21 mins, no ranging. So I don't
Yeah.
think they didn't even use their suits for a very long time.
You're still in the jungle. You have this scene with Larago that's kind of like a modern day Space Odyssey, where he's interacting with these monkeys, and they're like leading him through the forest. Why was there so much drunk Larago interacting with animals in this movie? Like, I had to keep reminding myself this
That
was the
actually wasn't in the
turbo-
script. they
It's
just
just
they just went out and shot him for a week.
we gotta explain why he's drunk, guys. This guy's a fucking mess. Because they're like, oh, the sun, it drains his brain power.
Yeah,
And he's like,
I
"Ah."
didn't say that.
he's
What?
like supposed to be a genius who's like the guardian of the universe, and he's the dumbest motherfucker I've ever seen in a movie.
The trivia says he had a bunch of lines. Yeah, they build him up as this big character. All he says is, "Ah, my kid." Like, he doesn't really say anything. I think he says his wife's name drunkenly.
He's
really
absolutely
bizarre.
plastered. It's like
He's got his magical death stick, and he's like,
like-
he's like pointed at people like.
And there's an extended scene where he's interacting with a lion. And I'm thinking about the real estate this is taking up, because there is so much cut out of this movie that there was even a deleted scenes reel at the credits. So I'm like, why was there a 5-minute sequence where he's talking to monkeys? He's like taming a lion. And I'm like, where's the fucking cars?
we get no cars in this entire movie. Well, okay, so what can we break that timeline
Yeah.
down a little bit just
Yeah.
to give the listeners a little bit of an overview? So I have a couple notes in my thing. So we get the first cars 36 minutes into this hour and a half long movie. And
Insane.
that's just when they're shown the cars. They don't get to use them for anything.
It's like 10 seconds.
Yeah. And then they don't fight in their suits until 1 hour and 11 minutes in. And there's no notes in here about when they actually use the cars, because they don't use the cars for anything. They're in them 3 separate times, and they drive 100 yards and then get out of the car. And there's one point they get out of the cars and they're like, haha, sure beats walking. And then they start walking through the jungle. And so I think they got down. They're like less useful than just being normal Power Rangers running around in their suits.
I think they are. Like, yeah, they drive the cars, I think like maybe 2 miles to a pirate ship to go on the ship. And then at one point, I'm like, okay, they're going to drive the cars to this final area. And they're like, let's ditch the cars, guys, and be more stealthy. And I'm like, are you fucking serious right now?
There was some turmoil between. So for the viewers who haven't watched Turbo, the cast in this movie gets replaced halfway through the season.
Yeah.
And a little blurb, if you do some Googling, is they didn't realize they were going to get replaced until they saw an ad in the newspaper for new Power Rangers.
Ouch.
What?
Yeah.
And I don't know why they did this, because it seems like the actors are still really passionate about being Power Rangers. So, folks, join the picket lines for SAG-AFTRA, which just started 2 days ago. Because, like, Tommy in this, the Red Ranger, he is probably one of the most iconic actors, I think, in the whole series. He shows up a bunch of times. Like, he shows up in Dino Thunder as their mentor. He's kind of a recurring thing. And to take out Tommy as a fan favorite, I feel like there was some kind of internal fights that were going on. And they had a recent Netflix movie. Was it Power Rangers Forever or something? That came out like in January? Where
really?
Tommy didn't return, and as he stated, because he actually still has beef with Hasbro and like how they treated him.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know this, but the actor who played Tommy too, he was kind of famous for being a UFC or kind of like an MMA fighter when we were in high school. He was known as kind of the Green Ranger fighter. I think I either like maybe just didn't realize, but he actually passed a couple like last year in November.
Yeah,
which
I
was
saw
really sad.
some discussion about that on Letterboxd.
I actually think Divatox did pretty good in this, like you guys are saying, like totally chewing the scenery. And also just like her jokes in this movie. She's like, "Excellent, you may kiss my hand." Just kidding. And she like slaps them and like just does little shit like that. I think she like totally earned her paycheck in this. To talk about some bad acting, you have Bulk and Skull.
Yeah, so that was my next topic. So like,
Jesus,
I don't remember them.
I think
they were like
unfortunately.
They were like a part of the series, right?
Yeah.
These two normal people who'd kind of always fuck things up.
Well, they were bullies in the first season, and then they became cops. Like,
Oh.
And I don't want to dwell on this. Did you guys notice the hot dog thing? I filmed it. I'm probably gonna put it on our Instagram.
Yeah. When there's no hot dog in the bun, and then there's a hot dog in the bun.
Yes.
That's not the worst.
Not getting that fucking by me.
Did you guys see the life jackets?
The life jackets, they disappear.
They're obviously like contractually obligated to give the actors life jackets if they're in open moving water.
Lame.
So the Power Rangers are wearing life jackets when they're in the water, and then they just disappear as soon as they get to land.
Dude, they like abuse the actors in this movie, like, because they are actually underwater. I think roiling through a river, holding these like heavy prop backpacks and shit, and getting like actually banged up and covered in shit. I was like, they're actually doing the stunts here. I don't think any of these actors used a stunt person.
It's probably a significant reason for like you have to be like there's a lot of vetting that goes into the actors, and they're not 100% actors. Most of them are like they do other stuff, and then they're also like, oh, I'll be in a movie.
Like a stunt guy, right? Like, and even the kid, was it Tom? Not Tommy. Is I forgot his name. The little kid who's
Justin,
a Blue Ranger,
I think.
Justin. He even does like a real spinning back kick in this movie and like swings on a rope. And I'm like, shit, like what was the like insurance for this movie? Because there was multiple scenes where we're like, that's not safe.
Did you guys also notice that it wasn't a closed set?
How do you mean? Like
when
there
they're
wasn't...
filming in the real,
Yeah.
like anything that's like to do with real people or anything like that, or like they're filming in LA or something like that, it's not a closed set. And there's people in the background trying to get your attention. So when Bulk and Skull are being abducted by the aliens and they're driving around the roads, that's all not a closed set. And there's people chasing behind them and running down the road after them.
Oh my God.
I'm like,
I had no idea.
It's worth rewinding because it's so obvious what's happening. And it like took me out of the movie so bad because like they're yelling at the camera and going like this. And I thought it was part of the movie thing, like, stop, there's something dangerous down there or something like that.
Yeah.
But then it would cut and they're supposed to be like on an abandoned road.
They couldn't even get another take. They were just like, one take, everything done. We got it, baby.
How many fucking takes do you think you got to do with Largo and the chimps, dude? They didn't have any film left.
We blew the whole budget on chimps, man. We have no film. They also blew the budget on the fake snake that they used in that scene, which was hilarious. That's Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good scene. We're in the jungle.
Yeah.
It's Tommy and Pink Ranger.
Not Kimberly.
I don't know the name.
She's Australian. Why am I thinking this
Pink Ranger? Anyway, they got these super cool packs that'll just like you can push a button and a water cup comes out. It looks like a mini Coke.
Cool. It's cool.
And then a giant snake attacks her. He wrestles it off. She does a 40-foot roll off to the edge of a cliff for some reason. I can't stop her momentum. He beats the shit out of the snake. She drops. And, man, sick flip. Sick flip dive.
That was awesome. That was real, too.
What?
Like, you see that. Like, it's clearly the actor,
They're
Tommy.
there
He's
on
doing
scene,
a front flip off a fucking cliff. There's no green screen. Her name's Kat, the Pink Ranger in this movie. The scene where Tommy's wrestling with this snake that's obviously not moving, and they're just inserting hissing, and he's like, ah, ah, ah. It's reminiscent of Stark Raving Mad, where he's fighting a snake that's obviously just like completely stiff. It's really funny. Man, we're only like 30 minutes into this movie. We could scrub forward a little bit.
I don't even know.
What
there's
happens?
I think there's like 15 minutes on this pirate ship that's just kind of confusing. At some point, there's a black hole in this movie, and then you go from 30 minutes to an hour and 15, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, like on the rewatch, like they don't mention the pirate ship at all before, right? And all of a sudden they're like, there it is, guys, the ghost ship.
The
I'm
thing
like,
we've been
excuse
looking
me.
for.
We should mention Justin in this movie, the young Blue Ranger. Like we mentioned the original Blue Ranger having his neck broken in the tournament. They're careful to mention that he's going to make a full recovery. He's just going to miss the mission. No big deal. He's fine. Justin overhears that they're the Power Rangers. And like I would have done when I was 12 years old, he snuck into Zordon's palace and becomes the Blue Ranger.
This is kind of confusing. I think around this point in time, Divatox has, I think, captured Larigo, has his wife and child in prison.
Fucking crazy.
And then it's like, oh, wait, hold on. I gotta go back. At some point, Larigo is sitting on the ground, drunk as shit, like holding his magic wand, like, la, 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 and they're like, oh no, he's performing the ritual of passivation or some shit. They're like, he's gonna surrender.
Yeah, I think I wrote that down somewhere. It was like the Liarian prayer of guidance. They said, and I'm like, what the fuck are you saying, dude?
But then then next we're on the submarine, and Divatox is like, we need two souls of purity and guides, and they like kidnap two scuba divers. And if you haven't no recollection, or if you've not watched the show, it's apparently supposed to be two previous Power Rangers, but you're like, they just kidnapped two scuba divers?
Two guys, these two weirdly shreddy people who don't seem concerned at all.
Well, also, like, how did Divatox know they were the Power Rangers? Because they were in full wetsuits.
Yeah,
and, like,
Jason and
underwater, like 50 feet underwater. So, like, I didn't know they were Power Rangers. How did she know?
And because they got rid of their powers.
Was it just
at this
extremely lucky? Like,
it was
ungodly lucky. Like, of all the 7 billion people on the planet, they abduct 2 Power Rangers.
But to rescue these Power Rangers, they essentially 3D print the turbo cars. I really liked this intro that they did, where they're like, and for you, the Red Lightning will serve you well. Like, they have these names for each of them as they go up to them, and the cars, they're like actually built props. Like they look like 90s futuristic cars. I kind of like it. It looks cheap, but also cool to me.
But they don't do anything.
I think they could barely move. I don't think the cars could actually physically move. Like the props, I think, would just completely fall apart. And there is that scene where they morph for the first time. I love this scene. I think when they're all driving out into the desert, suddenly these catchphrases come into their heads as they're driving. Like, Red Lightning, ready to bolt. Wind Chaser, ready to howl. Like, they all kind of go in a row.
I don't even remember this.
Each of them made, like, a catchphrase pun in the moment as they're driving in a row. It's just, it's amazing. This is, like, where we're reaching, like, the camp of the show, I think.
That's the power of the Rangers.
Yeah.
That ability.
The camp in the show, I was listening to a good discussion on Pop Culture Happy Hour on NPR, where they're talking about camp as like a weapon or as like a device in shows. It's kind of like when you watch something that's so bad it's good. Camp is usually the thing that kind of like sets it apart. You know, it can't be boring, but it's kind of just so crazy. You just have to keep watching. Like, did this movie kind of do that to you a little bit?
I think it might be the opposite effect for me. If I get what you're saying, you think like the camp of this movie kind of came in towards the end, or
I think so. I think it was throughout, but like once the Power Rangers show up, I think that's when it really sets in.
I was thinking like the first 30 minutes of this movie were kind of stellar, and I was pretty excited to watch it. And then 30 to an hour was really rough. And then at that
dragged, man.
And at that point, I was disinterested. So, like, if I was like, oh, instead of being like, oh, the Power Rangers are here, it was like, oh,
Right.
finally, fuck, you showed up to the party, huh?
Yeah, because movies like this, you're supposed to, I think, laugh and kind of throw popcorn. And like, if there was a Turbo Ranger screening at like one of these theaters, it's like think of what the audience would do when they show up. Like it's like Sharknado or Snakes on a Plane or some shit. But where it kind of falls apart is like where it drags and becomes boring and it just becomes convoluted and confusing. I really ran into a wall like at this point in the movie, like the second third. Holy shit, where are we at in this movie at this point? We're on the pirate ship for like an hour. The what
I think
the
let's just jump right to the
Stegosaurus-
climax because like
Well, I want to talk about the dino suits real quick, because the Power Rangers are invaded by these Stegosaurus monsters, and instead of morphing, they have the morphers.
The
And they're like,
Putropods.
Putropods, thank you. They're like, no, I want to do this ass whooping normal style. No Rangers. I'm just gonna fucking kick their asses vanilla. Like, it makes me wonder if there was like a budget constraint or something.
yeah.
Like, these dudes are just like fighting them regular. And there's a funny scene where one of the stunt guys in the Stegosaurus costume, he's like stumbling, and I think he doesn't want to go overboard in his
Yeah.
costume. Or he's like, and then finally someone off camera pushes him physically. He's like, oh, fuck. Like he falls over.
And then the other thing that the lack of morphing brings to this movie is the lack of sparks. 'Cause,
Right.
like, that's what I am imagining when I think of Power Rangers fights, like shit exploding and like they kick someone and sparks fly out of their face. But there wasn't that until the final climax battle when in the second half of that battle when the bad guy has already been resurrected. Even we get evil Power Ranger action and they get turned bad and stuff. There's no sparks.
Their Tannerite budget was really low in
Yeah.
this movie, and it only happened in the very, very final fight. I missed that too, Ryan, because the sparks go nuts in the show.
Yeah.
And the show's arc is the same every time. They start out with some bullshit. They fight the guy becomes big. They whoop their ass, right? But like, the show is only 20 minutes, and we had a thing that's almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
So they had to insert so much bullshit before the show. And I
We've
think they
talked
kept the
about this
percentages.
before, and
Yeah.
that a TV show plot line can be different than like the arc of the climax and the pace and everything can be much different than a movie, not only because of the time, but because of the episodic nature of them. Like you can have cliffhangers in TV episodes.
Right.
You can have the same shit repeated over and over and over, but to get all they did is they just stretched that formula out. And that's a terrible way to make a movie because that formula does not work for a movie. You can't have nothing for an hour and 20 minutes.
Right? They did everything but Power Rangers shit in this movie. Boy, yeah, let's get to the final area. They get to an island, right? Where Divatox is gonna resurrect the monster. They do my favorite morph where they're all like tutting, and they incorporate a steering wheel into their tutting routine, which I think is so sick.
What using this word tutting? Is that a term
like
of art?
yeah, it's like when you see dance crews, they do like the finger, like the hand stuff,
Oh.
And they kind of do that in the series. They're like, Turbo Morphers go, and they do this Naruto hand thing.
The thing we did at the beginning of this episode for the YouTube watchers, Ryan.
Yes, for the YouTube watchers. Thank you, YouTube watchers. And you kind of see the written in explanation why Justin is huge. They just grow him. But it's funny because they cut straight to the Super Sentai show when this happens. And suddenly they're all like nodding and acting in ways that the characters do not act like at all in their body language.
So I think I missed that earlier. You're saying that when we move to the Power Rangers scene in this, it's actually cut to Super Sentai filmed, or?
Yeah, but since they bought the rights, they have all the costumes. So there's scenes where there's the American actors in there, and those are that's made there. But there are distinct scenes that are from Super Sentai in this movie.
For me, it's the head posture is like very
Right?
different, where the American actress will be kind of like this with their shoulders back and their head up above their shoulders, and the Japanese actress will be like in like an athletic stance, and their head will be down, like kind of like in front of their shoulders, and they'll look like a turtle.
Yeah, they have this bizarre posture. Like I was saying, the body language. And as they're talking, their head is rocking back and forth. It's like someone they snorted like 10 lines of cocaine. And
Kind of like that.
It's kind of awesome. They're like sprinting at like 300 miles an hour, and they have like these headlights on their heads, which I loved. It's like, this is awesome. We finally get a Tommy and Jason 1v1 in this. They turn They did that for the fans. I didn't like the fight. It was fucking boring. But finally, Divatox resurrects Malagor. He's ugly. He's a big monster. And Malagor does nothing. He's like, hey, what's up, guys? And the Rangers immediately attack him. Malagor holds his own and then grows huge. Out of self-defense, all right? He grows huge. He's like, all right, guys, I can't handle all these guys fighting
They're
me
also
all of a
in
sudden.
his house.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
after 900 years of imprisonment, that I turned over a new leaf and I just want to go do some embroidery. But as soon as I got out of that volcano, they started beating my ass.
They shot an arrow at me.
I don't throw a punch that whole time. I was just trying to put my hands up to stop him. Wait,
literally
wait.
Scott, wait, did he throw a punch when he was giant either?
I don't
Or was
know.
he just trying to
I
get
think he
away from the
did.
Megazord?
He also flamed through them, which was pretty cool.
That was awesome.
And I just couldn't get over the fact that it looked like the old school Godzilla movies from the 60s, where it's very
love that.
plainly dudes in suits.
Mm-hmm.
And
Force perspective into some big scene.
How fast they're throwing those punches as like the Megazord, because their cars combine into one human shape. Like each car is like one arm and one leg, and there's a crotch car and then there's a head car.
Right.
And as they're throwing their arm cars, those are going like Mach 5 through the air. Like, have you ever seen a giant windmill? It looks like it's moving so slowly. Those electricity windmills, but they're going like 75 miles an hour. Those arms.
That's that alien technology, dog.
And
They're breaking the sound barrier.
And then this robot, the arms are just blazing. And yeah, they'd be dead for sure.
Yeah, these scenes in this, I think it's unique because I think they use CG nowadays. But to see again, like a Megazord with a guy in it and another rubber suit that was painstakingly crafted just for this one movie by someone. And they have to make all of these suits for all like 200 episodes. They don't really reuse them a whole lot. It made me miss movies like this. Like, I wish a movie would do this again and just play it straight and just have two guys just fucking fight each other over miniatures.
You gotta wait till Lobstericane, dude. When you
gonna
get
have a giant
Lobstericane out, we'll get it.
lobster. This was
A giant lobster. Oh, that could be the climax of our movie.
the lobster becomes huge.
Giant lobster,
Yeah.
and then
Deli dudes.
the deli dudes have to.
There's a pickle jar with a head
Combine.
in it in the deli, and it's like, I'm giving you my pickle-based morphing powers.
Yes.
The sandwich morpher.
They turn into a giant hoagie, and their
Giant
arms
hoagie
coming
roll.
out the side.
With a pickle sword. I loved that end scene because it stylistically once again changes to a very obviously Japanese show where you see the flames. The Megazord pulls out a sword, Pacific Rim style, or I guess the reverse, slices the thing falls off a cliff and just explodes behind him.
Yeah.
And the Megazord just poses with the flames.
Doesn't
and
look
shit.
at the explosion and be like, oh shit.
With the actor, I'm assuming, paralyzed in fear as the pyrotechnics go off behind him, hoping he's not entrapped in
It's
this
some
plastic
WWE
suit.
shit, dude. It's really cool.
I'm sure those suits are extremely flammable.
And hot, anyways.
He's like, holy fuck. Did it go? But Divatox kind of just fucks off somewhere after this.
Yeah.
And then it ends with this insane karate cage match. Is this normally how
Multiple
it goes?
fighters at the same time.
Is it like 3 guys at once? WWE teams of 3?
Yes.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
And they win the fight, guys. Guess what? Power Rangers win the fight. Shelter's not shutting down.
So wait, are the Power Rangers the employees at the shelter?
I
Because they're
don't-
on the bus and they're like singing bus songs.
Two of them might be.
I think
Volunteers
it's
or
implied
something.
they are.
Can
They're
we
volunteers.
also think of maybe a new spin-off where they're camp counselors at a summer camp and Jason shows up?
You picked the wrong fucking camp,
Yeah,
Jason.
Jason pops up. He's like, I'm gonna kill it instantly. Bah!
And everyone knows the Power Rangers are abstinent, so Jason's not killing anybody.
Oh, nice.
But the thing is, they would never use Zords because Jason never gets huge. So it's just going to be them,
Or no, Jason does step in like a nuclear sludge.
and he gets huge,
Yeah.
and then it's the Megazord versus Jason. Jason versus the Turbo Rangers. Pitch it. Support the writer strike, guys. Maybe we shouldn't pitch that right now.
Okay, let's get rid of this thing because Jace
please,
had said
God.
a couple weeks ago if we spend
Jesus
more than an hour
Christ.
and a half talking about Power Rangers, we need to shut this thing down.
Good, bro. We're good. Let's review these movies. We have the accelerometer. I think we were talking about calling it. It is essentially the car meter.
The
How
RPM.
car was this
Yeah,
movie?
how
The
RPM was it?
RPMs.
How RPM
Yeah, how many-
was it? We're
how many-
real concept here, guys.
Yeah, we do it in multiples of 1,000, just like real RPMs. This was my movie. I guess I'll start this off, right?
Yeah.
How car was this movie? How many RPMs? This is obviously going to be fucking low. Holy shit, guys. Ryan, what was that tag you had? It was like 31 minutes in for the first
The cars were
car.
at 36 minutes.
36 minutes in. Even when you look at Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, how long did it take for a car to show up? I think it was
3
the
seconds.
first, like, nanosecond. I think, like, the screen turned on and there's a car racing already. Boom! But in this, it was a crossbow. A fucking crossbow for the Turbo Rangers movie.
Was that a Predator ripoff?
Ooh.
Oh, maybe.
Another ripoff.
Yeah, so it's going to get a markdown for screen time. Another thing that's going to be part of my meter is, did it make me want to go fast? This movie did not make me want to go fast at all. It was a snail's pace. The pacing in this movie, Jesus Christ, you got to have fucking punchy pacing if you're going to have a car movie. So that's going to be a markdown for that. Was there a final race? No. There wasn't any fucking race in this movie. All right? There was one scene where they're driving across the desert for 10 seconds. Another thing was the main character was the main character a car? Obviously not. There was just these people. And one of them didn't even have a driver's license. This is just fucking bullshit. Guys, I'm going to give this a 1 on the 1,000 RPMs on the accelerometer.
You're idling.
We're idling here, man. This is not even off the driveway. Extremely low. I'm sorry, guys. I thought there'd be more cars than this. This was advertised as such.
Jace?
I don't owe any of you an explanation.
Oh, no.
This is a 1, though.
Okay. If you don't want explanation, that's fine. I do agree with you guys that in theory it's a 1. However, my scale bottoms out at a 1. You know, I don't go to 0. So part of Janelle, you listed a lot of things that were on my meter, especially is there a final race, stuff like that. However, there was a turbo gear in this movie that would delineate it from a normal movie with cars in it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I would honestly bet you take any movie that's made about modern day America and just drama, comedy, whatever, you can take any movie and it's going to have more footage of people in cars than this movie. So I 100% think this is the worst car movie I've ever seen. But they had a turbo gear. There's like a button or like a lever or something. They can slam it into turbo and that gets a point in my book. So I'm going to give it a 2. I was especially disappointed that they didn't fight as cars, right? They never fought as cars. They turned into a robot man. They didn't turn into like a big car. Like, imagine Malagor on this big like desert plain, and he's fighting a giant car that keeps like running laps around him and shooting them with cannons and stuff. That would have been cool.
Would have been sick. Too much money though.
Yeah, just get some guy to crawl around on his hands and knees inside of a cardboard car. So I'm gonna have to give it a 2, and I'm surprised at that.
A 2. Very merciful, Ryan. Now, unfortunately, is the movie meter. What did we actually think about this movie? This is, like many of our movies, a little challenging for me because there's a lot of nostalgia at stake here. I saw this movie multiple times when it was aired on TV. I had the Turbo Rangers Zord growing up that transformed. I was a big fan of this. Going in as an adult, we discussed that little thing about camp. I was really enjoying, like you said, Jace, the first 30 minutes of this movie. I was laughing my ass off. I was so invested on the wild ass fucking scenes that were in this movie. I conceptually loved the premise of this movie, fighting a space pirate. I was still, even the fact that they were just like delaying when the cars were coming in, I thought was actually just hilarious too, where it kept doing more and more bullshit in this movie. But do I think it's a good movie that executed what it wanted to do is another question. This is a movie that's clearly marketed for 5-year-olds. Critics panned this thing. There was only one champion at the LA Times who said it was pretty good, but the tomato meter is a 15%. Nobody liked this when it came out, and it underperformed at the box office. You know, I dragged a lot towards the end and the middle. I think I only liked the beginning. The end sequence with the Power Rangers was pretty cool, but there was just moments that were saving this. Overall, I think the worst thing that a bad movie can be is boring, and unfortunately, that's the territory it was leaning towards for a lot of this movie. I'm going to give it a 2, I think. I'm going to bump it up a little bit because I did have some enjoyment here. But I in all good conscience, from all the shitters we've seen, like, I don't think I can really elevate this movie beyond that. So it's a 2.
That's so I'm coming in higher than you. I'm going to give the movie a 4. And again, I don't owe you an explanation.
Fuck you guys.
I meant that to our listeners as well, not you two specifically. I think a lot of care went into the VFX in the costumes, and I enjoyed that. And I think that there were a lot of interesting set pieces. I think it's funny that Ryan noticed that they didn't have closed sets. I think the evil villains in the movie carried it for me because they just had the free will to make really stupid, shitty, funny jokes. Like the bad guy, one of the guy, Divatox cuts off one of these guys' hands, and he's like, "Oh no, not again!" It's like, oh. But yeah, so such a long drag in the middle of this before we get any Power Ranger action that it would almost make you question whether or not the movie is a Power Rangers movie. It seems like almost like they extended a TV episode, but they extended the wrong parts of it.
Yeah.
And then, I think I would agree that I really enjoyed that final scene where you can tell you've got a little bit of forced perspective of two people in really boxy outfits that make them look like giants fighting each other. The movie started funny. It ended a little funny. And it really sucked in the middle so far.
Yeah, I've got a couple points to make. I think you guys have said everything. I'm gonna sum it up and try 3 different points. First, I love kaiju movies. I was considering a couple times pitching a kaiju season. It's where giant monsters and robots essentially fight, like Godzilla. I was expecting an arc of a kaiju movie where in the beginning there's a giant monster that attacks and the main people try to fight it and they lose and they have to come up with a new way and they get new powers. Think, oh, they won't be able to defeat these car powers, and then they use the car powers to finally defeat the giant monster. That would have been fine. Why did you not do that? I don't remember my other point. And then the part of the positive of this movie is, I would say, I think the villain and Divatox did really good. I thought she was doing the right sort of ham, and it's not her fault the movie's bad, and in fact the opposite. It did come off as pretty predatory to me with the way they filmed her character and dressed her character especially. And you can see this with the way the other women are shot as well. There's certain scenes in this movie that accentuate the bodies of the female Power Rangers, and that stuff is just not okay, regardless of whether or not it's a kids movie or whether or not it's being serious. You're not entirely sure ever of the consent of the actors and being portrayed that way. Jace,
the actress of this for Divatox in this movie throws back to Divatox all the time. That doesn't make it not predatory or not okay, but actress is very current, posts pictures on Instagram in the Divatox mask still today. So
okay, that's cool.
Nice. I thought that was interesting.
She might be in a different position than the teenage actors too.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I remember my third point in that this is part of a series, and I don't think they did that well at all. They just, we've said 1,000 times now, they just took an episode and extended it, and it was just made especially apparent because right after this I went and watched Mission Impossible 7, which is my favorite series. I'm being not ironic or joking at all. It's my favorite movie series. I love those movies to death, and they've been getting better and better and better every season, really, every episode. But I was a little disappointed with this movie because it's a part 1 of part 2, and it threw a wrench in the formula because normally every movie has kind of the same idea, and there's, like I just mentioned, there's something that they can't overcome. They figure out a crafty way to overcome it, and then you're surprised at the end and you get this big conclusion because at the last second they save the world. Well, this is a part 1, so it didn't fit that formula, and I was a little thrown off. And this movie kind of did the same thing, where they didn't quite know how to shift the formula and get a payoff by the end. And all they focused on was get a payoff at the end. And that means the rest of the 90% of the movie went to the wayside, and they just maybe had the B crew even do it. Yeah, it really was interesting. The same sort of problems are coming up, even in Hollywood blockbusters that are my favorite movies ever and one of the most cherished, has all of its integrity as compared to Fast and the Furious left franchises, and that's Mission Impossible. They make similar mistakes. So I can't really say that it's what they're trying to do is hard. And it's really difficult to pull off, and it's not all their fault. So I'm going to give them a 2 rather than a 1 that I was originally landing on. It's a freaking Power Rangers movie, guys. But
what are we doing?
I would have given it, but that's the thing. It's I would have given it a higher score.
Yeah.
If it was more Power Rangers-y. Like, I would have done that because that's what it's trying to be. But it also suffers from the Thanksgiving paradox, where Thanksgiving is trying to be bad, right? And that's the defense. Whenever you, like, critique a movie like Thanksgiving, they're like, well, they're just students. You know, it was trying to be bad. It's all tongue-in-cheek. We know that. Right, but those same people have never shown that they can make something good. Right. So we don't know how much of this badness is on purpose. And I thought that was true with this movie. There was never a part of this movie that was good. So I don't know how to actually measure how actually bad it was.
And the Megazord fight was cool. Yeah, right. That's a very fair review of this movie. And we also have to kind of bring up, it's like we are like almost 30 years old.
60 days.
Yeah, Jace. And we're watching a movie that's made to entertain children. Like, we are not the targets for this. If you had asked me when I was 5 what I thought about this movie, I was like, best movie ever. Greatest movie ever. So we're really not being fair here. Like, the actors, they're acting like this because it's for kids, man. They're doing, like, children's theater. But, I mean, there you have it, folks. That's what we think about Power Rangers. As a side note, we've talked about maybe doing like emergency episodes or side episodes. If we ever wanted to do the 2017 Power Rangers movie, I would be so fucking down. That was, Ryan, you mentioned, let's see them make a serious take. Let's see them make a real movie of this. That was their attempt. That movie has a bit of a cult following after it kind of flopped. Some people do defend that. I'd be curious to see it. If any of you guys saw it at home, too, I want to hear what you thought. It's called Power Rangers.
The
it's
rather new one?
Yeah, the 2017 one.
Okay. I thought you said
that's the one.
Oh, man, dude. The first 4 stills of this are like that dark, gritty look. Like, why would you make the movie look like that?
Isn't Elizabeth Banks
over-designed? Yeah, she's Rita Repulsa, I think, in that one. And then has Dr. Montgomery from Stranger Things. Yeah, he's the Red Ranger.
What? Oh my God!
So just throwing that out there. If we want to do end of the season,
and Bryan Cranston as Zordon, they really went all in, didn't they?
Yeah. So just throwing that out there.
I was gonna say, like, for an emergency episode in a Power Rangers movie, it would be funny to get like Chad on because he has a child and be like,
hell yeah.
Hey, watch this movie with your kid, and then we'll integrate that somehow. But this one's PG-13, so that's not going to be okay.
Ooh, not going to break the law on this show, folks. Folks, let us know what you think if you saw the Turbo Power Rangers movie. For the record, it's on Hulu if you have Hulu.
For free.
You can watch it for free. No ads. See that shit if you want, if you got a free afternoon. Do you remember this movie? What do you think about the Power Rangers? DM us. I get DMs from you guys every once in a while when you do, like, catch up on old episodes. I don't get mad. All right, we don't get mad when we get DMs like 3 months after we saw the movie. We still want to know what you thought. Even if this episode's 10 years old, still just fucking shoot us a DM and be like, yo, I watched the Turbo Rangers movie.
We still want
and
fanfic.
I thought it was fucking good.
Us three and you as Power Rangers. Tell the story.
Right, it's a fanfic. We'll say it on air. If there's no bad stuff in it. So fellas, that concludes episode 2 of our Garage season. Jace, is it your pick for the next car movie?
It is. Yeah. And I'm going to just lay it out there. I want to fuck us. Okay. I want to absolutely screw us over.
Jace, we just saw the Turbo Rangers movie, dog.
Yeah. We're gonna... You know what? Doggy movie. Doggy movie.
This is our car
doggy
season.
Movie. Doggy movie.
Oh, no.
We're going to watch The Art of Racing in the Rain.
Oh
no.
My God.
Which was on deck in the dock season.
Jesus
and
almighty.
Comes back for the car season. Room.
Wait, did we have the Wheel of Chaos in the dog season and that's why it never got picked?
Yes.
Art of Racing in the Rain. I remember we talked about this, right?
I don't remember what the...
Kevin Costner voices a dog, baby.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Kevin Costner, the original idea for this podcast.
It's on Disney Plus. I got rid of that.
Oh, it's the guy I don't like from the movie But the Family.
Emilio Ventimiglia. Peter Petrelli from Heroes is in this. Shout outs, Peter Petrelli. Holy shit. I can't believe this. I was like, thank God we never watched it.
Yeah.
And now it's back. There's a race car with a dog in it.
Okay. Jace, it's your pick.
It's about Okay, fine.
I was going to pick Thelma and Louise, but fuck us. You know?
That would have been fun. That's was a Ridley Scott movie?
Is that a
Yeah.
car movie?
Yeah.
It's about a robber.
Is this a car movie?
I don't know.
We'll find out. We'll put it on the RPM gauge.
Man, but then I'm gonna have to pick Thelma and Louise for my second movie.
Yeah.
And
well,
I've been
you just said
talking
you
about
fucked
picking
us.
Thelma and Louise. Oh,
This is a car. This is a car. No, this is a movie about someone who is a Formula One racer. Let's do it. Fuck it. I have to rent this with my money that I work for. I spend hours of my life making. But I'll get you back, Jace. We'll all get you back.
you already
We've
got
turned
me. You
this
made me watch
season
Power
back.
Rangers.
That was a treat for us. Join us next week, folks, for The Art of Racing in the Rain. Watch along if you got Disney Plus, and we can guide you through these movies. That's what I think we are. I think we're counselors to help people process some of these movies, whether it's good or bad. I think it helps hearing some voices, some familiar voices talk about it. Thank you guys so much. Follow us on Threads. We got Threads. This episode's probably going to air like way later than now, but we will have a Threads presumably in the future when this episode airs. Follow us on Instagram, fuck Twitter. Check us out on YouTube. We're still catching up. See our faces. Watch our reviews everywhere. Share our shit. Review our shit. Do all the shit. And this season, we've been kind of doing, we were talking about different ways to end the show. I was thinking maybe each of us could end it like in a different way each season. Like each of us could just have the executive power to end the show. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever picked the movie, they then get the power to just end the show.
Okay.
You know, so just to try something new, and we can experiment different things. So I'm going to now end the show with since it's my turn. I guess I'll say a line from the movie. Turbo Rangers go! I guess that's it.